What's going on, guys? Got 1 minute, 60 seconds before we get started. Let's go, let's go. I'm gonna give y'all 1 more minute, 60 more seconds. Thirty more seconds. Let's go. Got a treat for y'all today. All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Kingdom Diplomat. Welcome to Kingdom Diplomat Podcast. Obviously, I'm your host. If you guys been following me, thank you, thank you, thank you to all my subscribers, my base subscribers. I have a vision, obviously, to reach billions across this planet, but it all starts with a foundation, right? And that foundation starts with a cornerstone. Now, a cornerstone, I'm not going to get into teaching yet, but a cornerstone, when you look at it, it's all based on laws, okay? Laws, natural laws, and some people say spiritual laws. I like to say spiritual or unseen laws, right? Everything that you draw, and if you look at actually just the planet that we live on and everything that we do, it's a form of art. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've been following me these 18 weeks now, season 1, episode 18, I think I'm right, could be wrong, maybe 19, but welcome. And for all the new soon to be subscribers, you see that right there? Subscribe and like. So if you guys been following me, as I said before, my channel actually is about two things, okay? It's about empowering people and not only empowering people just to know who they truly are, right? So before I get into that, for all the newbies, welcome again. I love saying that, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm so appreciative of you guys being here, no matter what side that you're on or what state that you're on. I really appreciate you doing this. This right here is a duty of mine, right? So if you understand, everybody has influence, and everybody's a leader trapped in a follower. And with that influence, we have a duty to do certain things, right? A husband has a duty for his wife, a wife has a duty for his husband, and so on with the kids, aunts, uncles, every facet of family, every facet of society. So here's my treat right here. I told you. and shout out again to my boy Cam. He's one of my subscribers and one of the Kingdom Diplomat, part of the Kingdom Diplomat family. And I wanted to get some feedback, and as far as reaching not only people around my age, but also people who are younger than me, right? And it's not that people about around my age or even older, it's not like we can't learn, because obviously I'm proof of it. You know, if you've been following me, you've walked with me through some of my story that I told you, just from a financial aspect, moving down to, um, a new state, North Carolina, and from VA, which I have a lot of roots there, and also up in CT, original colonies, right? We learned in school. But if you've been following me, you learned my story moving here with my wife and our kids, and jobless. I think we had about $5,000 or $6,000 in the bank, right? And I distinctively remember a week prior to that, maybe 2 weeks prior to that, letting our landlord know, up in VA, that we were moving, but we didn't know where. We knew the area, but we never did a next state or any state, move. And it was a big step, but we felt in our heart that we needed a change. So anyway, and I'm gonna get into that a little bit. You got to make sure that your seed is in the right environment, right? Because you can have it on the bathroom floor, you can have it on the concrete outside, you can have your seed, your acorn seed, your orange seed, your apple seed, in the kitchen sink. But guess what? The law of the seed, that power of that mechanism, and the picture that's in that mechanism, guess what? It won't grow, right? Because it's in the wrong environment. So going from unemployed and a little bit less than 9 years we've been down here, and I wrapped up not too long ago outside of one of our commercial residential cleaning businesses. I started a marketing and consultant company, and did a project for about 2 months, and so far it looks like I'm owed close to 90,000 in less than 2 months of work. And so I say that to say this is because, as I said in previous in previous podcasts, that it's all about laws, right? And I'm gonna pound that into your mind, because guess what? We all need to pound it into our own mind that everything is based on laws. Seen laws, or natural laws, you can say physical laws, and also spiritual laws, or unseen laws, right? You can literally predict your future. You can predict somebody else's future just based upon knowing, right? Because remember what I said before, what's the number one thing that I say is mankind's enemy? I always say, and I'm going to continue to say this, hopefully every episode, and that's lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge means darkness. If we're in the dark and we don't know anything, then guess what? People can take advantage of us, right? We've all been there before, right? Governments can take advantage of you. If you don't know your constitutional rights, let's say you were born here in the United States, let's say you were born in, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or whatever. Wherever you were born, every country has constitutional rights, and if you don't know them, obviously you can be taken advantage of in many different ways. So again, welcome, Kingdom Diplomats. Please subscribe if you have not. I really appreciate it. Help this message of who you truly are, the mechanism of the seed and the tree that's inside the seed, and the leader that's inside you, the potential that's inside you. So again, my mission is to empower you to pull that tree out, plant it in the right environment, right? And then allow me to water that seed a little bit here or there, but you learn to water your seed, right? You learn to allow the environment that you're in to be so positive that you cannot fail, right? You can't doubt, because fear and doubt are power negative twins. They go hand in hand. Wherever you find doubt, you'll find fear, Wherever you find fear, you'll find doubt. And not only that, with fear, you'll find lack of love. So all that goes hand in hand, right? Perfect love does cast out fear. You know, when a child is around, let's say a little boy, a little girl is around their dad and they're holding his leg, right? That child, or let's just say that child is just playing around, right? And they see the dad sitting on the back porch, and you know, maybe there's something that frightens them. Maybe a car is going down the street and the car backfires, right? You know, that's happened to all of us before, right? We're doing something else and we just caught off guard, you know, and that child, guess what? Runs to the dad or runs to the mom, right? Because that when they cling to that person, there's this kinetic energy and feeling of a child being secure around the parent. So, okay, so let me go ahead and stay on track with this. So, why do I have this right here? And here in a few minutes, I'm going to get up and draw some things out. But why do I have that right there? So, a lot of people have gone to the beach, right? Or at the beach, maybe right now. Maybe you're watching me at the beach and everything. Be careful now, especially that sunscreen, because it definitely can. It's got some things in there that can cause some serious health challenges and everything like that. But anyway, so it's summertime officially. I think it was 2 days ago, something like that. Hot, muggy, depending upon where you're at. Maybe in a different continent. Maybe maybe it's cool where you're at. Maybe it's dry where you're at. But for the most part, if you're on the Western Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, it's hot, dry, and muggy. But going to the beach, that's one of the environments that we all like to do as human beings to relax, get into nature. Something about that connection with nature where you put your feet in the sand, right? And you just rub your toes and you got the sand going between your toes and there's no clouds in the sky and it's 75 degrees and you got family around you. Notice how you feel when that type of thing happens, or you could be at the lake, you could be at a private lake of some sort. So if you guys are traveling, if you're going to the beach, you guys be safe, have fun with your family, enjoy the time. And as I always like to say is that we're always against the clock every single day. While we're resting, the clock is still moving, right? So let me get into this right here. So a beach. Now there was this young family who had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, and they were planning to go to the beach, and that's a time for them to kind of get away from the rat races. A lot of people would say the monotony of things, the boredom of things, just to kind of get away from all that stuff. And so they took a trip to the beach, 3-hour trip, and they had everything planned out. They're going to stay the weekend. And, they went to the beach, obviously, the first and foremost, and the kids are playing in the sand, and while mom and dad is, just kind of, under the umbrella and watching the kids get out there and get in the water a little bit. All of a sudden the kids come back, right? And they said, hey, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and build a sandcastle? So, mom and dad is talking, they're keeping an eye on the kids and everything. And, there's obviously, they're at a private beach and there's not a lot of people around, but, quite a bit of people. And so they start building the, sandcastle. So, they get their little buckets, they get their little shovels, and maybe about 30 minutes goes by and they got a pretty good deep hole. And so the oldest brother, he goes over there, says, I wanted to make it a little bit deeper, and his other brother and sister are like, no, we don't want to make it deeper. We're going to leave it right here. No, let's make it deeper. I got an idea. Okay. So they finally capitulate, right? And so he digs a little bit deeper, and then all of a sudden he hits something. Boom. And he starts digging his hands on it, and there's something hard in there, right? And unbeknownst to him, He's 8 years old, and he's seen some things before. He's been on the internet before, and he sees this little, small little chest. And guess what? He runs over to his mom and dad and says, "Mom and Dad, look, 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 come here, come here, come here." And guess what happens? So while mom and dad see the little boy approach them, there's people not too far away, and they look at the little kid, and sometimes you're just paying attention to your own family and what's going on and everything like that. They just kind of glance and look away, and it's nothing to them, right? So he comes to them and says, "Look, I need to show you something. I need to show you something. I found something." So they get up and they run over there. Um, well, the father runs over there, but the mom is just she's lagging behind a little bit and whatever, and she's thinking in her mind, maybe it's just something, maybe a seashell or something like that. And dad is, he's just very curious, and he says, "You know what, maybe it's time I get out here and just kind of play with him a little bit." So they go over there and they look down in the hole, and dad starts digging a little bit more. And guess what? It is a little chest. So they pull the chest out. Mom has a towel, right? And so dad wraps the little chest in the towel, and they bring it back under their umbrella, and they were able to get the little chest open. And guess what they found out? They found some gold coins, right? Now, check this out. When they pulled that chest out, that little small chest, there was something else, because the other two came behind them and they were still digging, and they found something, and they came back and said the same thing. I'm going to leave that right there, because that's something that I want you to, well, let me go ahead and finish it out. So what happened is that they took that little chest and they said, "All right, we got to get out of here." So they started packing their bags. You ever seen when roaches come out at nighttime and they turn the light on? That's how much they scrambled out, right? They peeled off, right? It was like Fast and the Furious. Now those gold is probably maybe about 3,500, somewhere around 3,000, 3,500 an ounce, right? And eventually it's going to go up to $5,000 to $10,000 an ounce. That's not financial advice, but let's just say I got some good resources, right? Anyway, so they peel off, and guess what they go do? This is a private area, right? So there's a wealthy family in the area that own it. So mom and dad goes back. Keep in mind, there's another treasure chest back there, okay? Buried pretty deep. Obviously, they covered it back up. So mom and dad they find out who the owner of that place is, and they say, "Hey, listen, I'd like to buy your beach, just a portion of your beach," right? Because it was over there near the trees where they were, okay? And so what happens is that they ended up selling everything. They got a hold of the owners. They sold everything, and actually what they offered them was $20,000 more than what that little area they was buying the acre was worth. And they thought, man, these people are so stupid. They never even thought about it, the owners, right? Or former owners. So they signed it over. And guess what? The family goes back there when there's nobody around, and they go back to the area because X marks the spot, right? And they found there was a whole lot of more gold. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to let you see if you can discern what the lesson of that is. So here's my topic. And why did I put, what does this have to do with business? Because everything that you've seen me talk about from the end, well, let's go to the beginning. My first episode all the way through continuously is going to be about business. Now, it could be maybe you didn't grow up in a business mindset, with a business mindset, right? Maybe you did not, maybe you worked for somebody your whole life, right? And you just went to work, did what you're supposed to do, got your check, and went home, right? Did whatever you wanted to do after that, right? Now, the cornerstone of this country, guess what? Is small and medium business. They make up about 98%. I don't know if you know that, but 98% of the GDP in the United States, right? Now, it may be different if you're part of a, another country, another continent, and so on and so forth. But small business, why? So you as a human being, remember what I said human being means? You got hu, means humus, that means dirt body. Man, actually in Hebrew, means spirit. So we're spirits, we're in a dirt body, and we have a soul. A soul is mind, will, emotions, and intellect. So I talked about that. Look at my previous 3 podcasts, and I talked about that, okay? And you'll understand that, why God did that and the whole purpose of that. So business, you're a business unit. Now, even if you're an employee or you own the business, it doesn't matter. This still applies. Why? Because either one, we're always producing something. Now, one may be more than another, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on, a word called consumer versus prosumer, right? I'll get into that. But here's the definition of word, okay? Word. Now, why do I want to talk about words? What does a word or words have to do with business, right? So you are a business unit, but you also are a product by definition, if you look that up, okay? So the definition, well, I'm just going to condense it. So the word, I believe it's the Hebrew, it could be wrong, it's either the Hebrew or the Latin, but the word means expressed idea, okay? Expressed idea. So a word is what? A word is like a container. You can't see it, right? You can't see my words, but to some degree, many of you can understand my words. And as I was kind of illustrating with my words, right, articulating with my words, the whole beach example, you can literally see on the right side of your brain, because your right side of your brain thinks in pictures, left side thinks in words, right? And so you can literally see on the right side of your brain as if you were already there as I was painting the picture of that family on the beach. So words have meaning, right? And words determine where we are right now in life in every single area, right? And then words will determine positive or negative, right? Atoms are made of protons, neutrons. So you got protons plus, and you got what's the electrons, negative, right? So you got positive and negative, right? And then you got neutrons, which are neutral, right there in the middle, okay? So the word means expressed idea. It's not just a word that I'm saying. The word talks about, or should I say, I'm explaining, is that it's like a thought process, okay? It's a system of thoughts. I was talking to one of my daughters, and she was, working with us with one of our projects, and I said, whatever you do in order to get good at it, even though you're getting good at something, you have to develop a system. So all of us have a system of thinking that has brought us right now to where we are in life. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm sure you do, because you are very smart, intelligent people, right? No matter what anybody else said about you, no matter what your teacher said about you in 5th grade or didn't say about you in 5th grade, no matter how many times you failed, no matter how many times you made a mistake, if you repent is not a religious word. The word repent means to, as I said before in previous meetings, you can look this up yourself, please do. It means to change your thinking. It means to do a U-turn, right? So, but no matter how many times you mess up, if you're willing to repent, right, and go back the direction that you're supposed to go back, then obviously you'll still be able to learn, right? You'll still be able to transform to the person that you desire to be, okay? So your words, as another word for word, is like concept. So concept means, con means with, sept means idea, right? Okay, so that's what it means, okay? Now the word meaning, I don't know if you ever looked that word meaning up, Okay, I'm going to read you verbatim what the word meaning means, because this has everything to do with business. This has everything to do with life. This has everything to do with marriage. This has everything to do with relationships. This has all the facets of all parts of life. These two words control how we think. And then I would even, if you step back a little bit further, you have precepts. Well, I said con means with, sept means idea, pre means before. So I say before on many podcasts, and please look this up. Pre, as you already know, sept, that's the root word. It means it's a grammatical construct, right? So it's kind of like a Lego, right? You make it, you take a little small Lego, and then you got a bigger Lego, and you put it on top, right? So it's a grammatical construct. So it means before the idea. Now, what are you talking about? So I'm going to say this over and over and over again. The most important real estate is what? The 6 inches between my ears. You know, some people's like, yeah, Tarek, I know you said that over and over and over again. Well, I have to keep hammering it in, because guess what? Prior to this podcast, what did you watch? What were you doing? What were you listening to? Who were you around? What was going through your brain? That magnificent brain that attracts things or repels things, right? It has to do with different laws, as I talked about before. Okay, so meaning. What does the word meaning mean? Okay, let me read this to you. It says, what is meant by a word, there we go, an expressed idea, text, concept, well, you don't say, or action. I'm going to read that again. The word meaning means what is meant by a word, text, concept, or action. Now, I'm going to go through I'm going to go through these next 2 segments here before I wrap up here shortly. I'm going to go through 2 exercises, because I like connecting with my audience. Okay, so hopefully you have a piece of paper and pen. If not, just bear with me. Go listen to it at least 7 times. Take some notes. Researchers say in order to get the concept of something, you have to listen to it at least 7 times by taking notes. When you write stuff down, you're writing on your mind. I'm going to say that again. When you write stuff down, you're writing on your mind, right? Okay? So why do you think when we were little kids, our teachers had us write our alphabets over and over again, our numbers over and over again? Because it's a mechanism, kind of like a hammer and a nail. You keep pounding it over and over and over and over again, because that is how we learn. Okay? All right, now follow me here with this. Okay. Now, here's the importance of why you think the way you think, and why I think the way I think. And what we think right now, the system of thinking, the strongholds that are in our mind right now, because you got positive strongholds, you got negative strongholds. In other words, beliefs about yourself, because that's how we see the world, right? Our perception is our reality. Are you listening to me? How we perceive things, how we perceive ourselves, is how we see the world. Okay, so here's the first one right here. All right, so let's look at these 2 words: gay versus homosexual. Okay, yes, I'm going there. Gay versus homosexual. Now, if you look up the word gay in the dictionary, it means happy. Now, there's probably some other words in there, but that's what they call it back then. If you were to say that word back then, 50s, 60s, 40s, or prior to the 60s or prior to the 50s, that meant happy. But today, gay means homosexuality, right? Allegedly. But we all know that word is not the right meaning, right? Now, how do we accept that as a society? Well, it's very simple. How do you eat an elephant? I don't want to eat an elephant. Well, how do you eat a big, huge, large cake, right? One bite at a time, right? Unless you weigh about 300 or 400 pounds, you know, you're your offensive line in the NFL, offensive lineman in the NFL, right? But how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Okay. Well, how do you change your thought process, or how can your thought process be changed without you even knowing it? Well, that's easy. You got to know, as what did I say at the beginning? You got to know about the laws, right? Let's put that up there. You got to know about the laws, okay? Laws. Right. You have to have knowledge, right? Knowledge is the opposite of darkness, okay? Knowledge means information slash light, right? Okay. Now, we understand the meaning of homosexuality. It means same sex, right? Now, let's put aside the spiritual side. Let's look at it from the natural standpoint. Okay. When you look out, if you look at two dogs, have you ever seen two dogs, two male dogs, try to have sexual relations? No, you've never seen that, right? What do you see mainly two male dogs do? They button heads, right? Usually, right? Especially because dogs are territorial. Guess what? Human beings are territorial too. I'll talk about that later on about dominion. Right? I talked about that in previous podcasts. You know, mankind is a product, and the manufacturer put mankind here to make this planet look like planet heaven. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my previous talks and you'll understand what I'm talking about that. And so mankind, each individual, is not a mistake. All 8+ billion of us are not a mistake. And the previous billions are not a mistake, and the people after us are not a mistake. Okay? So each product already has in it the principles, follow me now, laws to succeed before the product even arrives in the marketplace. Are you following me, right? Before the manufacturer puts the image, right? You're, as I said before, you're watching me on your cell phone. So before your cell phone, your Samsung, your iPhone hit the market, it had to go through rigorous testing with people in white suits, right? How can you read the manual, which means the maker's mind, and it say, if you do this, this, and this, you'll be able to send a text? How, when you look at the manual, most people don't. It's funny how we all, and for the most part, a lot of times I don't. I'm guilty. I'll be the first one to tell you. And I'll discover something. I'm like, man, I didn't know I could do that, but I could have learned that a year or two ago when I got the phone, right? Why? This right here. Knowledge. I didn't have light, right? I was walking in ignorance, which means darkness, right? So that's our number one enemy of mankind, is lack of knowledge, walking in darkness, okay? So getting back to that example. So yeah, so obviously you see what I'm saying? The word, you have a word, but it was changed over decades, and that's done through media, right? Because we all know we have 5 senses, right? In our mind, if you do a little bit of research for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll figure out your brain is a sending and receiving station, and you can be, and then also not only that, look at all commercials, you know, Super Bowl commercials, NBA commercials, all that type of stuff. When you have a group of people, a massive amount of people watching certain things that get around, there's a lot of these commercials, right? Every mechanism of marketing is very strategic to get you and I to buy that product, right? Whether it's healthy for us or not, right? Pharmaceutical drugs, right? The biggest drug dealers in the world, right? Petroleum based. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. You can find out yourself. Okay, here's another set. Some of you guys may be able to relate to this, okay? let's look at the 1960s again. Okay, now back then, no, I wasn't born yet, but back then they called it. I heard they called it. My dad, my mom, grandparents, great grandparents, you know, your family back then. They called, a lot of them called money bread, right? Bread, right? Hey, what's going on, brother? Hey, man, you got any bread on you? Oh yeah, man, I got a little bit of bread. Dude, why don't you go find a job? You know what I'm saying? Hey, go come work for me. I just need a little bit of bread. You get what I'm trying to say, right? So bread was called that back then. Now, fast forward 50, 60 years today, if you say, give me some bread, people are going to think what? Most people are going to think food. Now, do you see the words are the same, but the meaning is different. Okay? The meaning is different. How about this one? Death versus life. I'm going to say that again. Death versus life. What is death? Death is very simple. Life in reverse. I've explained that before many times, right? That's how the manufacturer made everything, right? Going back to laws, principles, okay? Now check this out. How about this one? Consumer versus prosumer. So what's a consumer? We all know con means one, right? Sumer, right? Basically somebody that kind of, that just, what's the word for it? Here's an example of a consumer. Eating, buying, we have especially in the Western world, marketing, buy this, buy that, buy this. It's mainly wants versus needs, right? Give me this, give me that, right? So we're conditioned to consume stuff, right? Now, it's sad, but I'm going to tell you one thing right now. I may not have this correctly, but I heard this not too long ago, maybe about a week or two ago, but I think it was like the average savings of an American is less than $5,000. That's pathetic. Why? Because we've been conditioned over the last 60 to 70 years to consume, right? Buy. How about prosumer? See, if you don't learn these type of things as far as words and meanings, you'll stay poor. Now, well, you won't stay poor. You'll stay broke. Because there's people out there right now in these third world countries that are poor. Oh, let me say it like this. Here's the difference. A poor person is only poor if they stop dreaming. That's what I want to say. Okay? If you stop seeing your future, imagining your future, how do you think you see those people who reach upper echelons of sports, all different kinds of industries, and they came from a terrible situation and background? They were poor as far as materially aspect, right? Because poverty has different aspects, just like wealth has different aspects to it. It has arms that come out of it, right? Kind of like right here, okay? But so again, being poor, if you can dream, you're not poor. That's just a temporary thing. Why? Because where the mind goes, the body's eventually going to follow, right? You follow your dream, you follow your vision that was put inside of you. Okay, now let's go on to the next one right here. So, let me back up. So prosumer, that basically means to produce something, right? We were created, every human being is a business unit, right? Is here to create something good for their fellow man, to produce fruit. Okay, so produce a product or service, right? Okay, here's another one. Bad versus good. Okay, so bad 100 years ago, I'm going to read you the definition. It means poor quality or low standard. That's what bad means. Oh man, that was bad. That was bad food. Man, I went to, oh my God, I went to BK. Yeah, I went to BK. We were in between jobs and stuff like that, my wife and I was like, man, we got to hurry and get to this other job, and I'm hungry, we're hungry, whatever, we were just going to grab something. Why did I have to go there, Oh my gosh. Yes. So, anyway, long story short, what was put up on there, they advertised, was not what they gave us. Let's put it like that, and it didn't, it tasted awful. But anyway, that's why, So, anyway. So bad versus good. So long time ago, bad means poor quality, low standard. Now, when you talk about bad on the movies or something like that, and it's like, man, that's a bad car, or man, that's a bad dude. You know, don't mess with him. Or man, she's a bad chick. Don't mess with her. You know what I'm saying? They're meaning good. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? Of course you do. So words and meanings change, and they produce what we think. Okay, they produce that building, that system of thoughts. Okay, last but not least, here's another one. The enemy of right. So right versus wrong, right? That's when we were taught, right? Right versus wrong. Okay. I would submit to you that the enemy of right is actually not wrong, but the enemy of right is actually good. Hear me out now. So you're always going to have poor people, right? And I'm not talking about their surroundings. Remember, when I say that, I'm talking about they stopped dreaming. They stopped their the in the recesses of their mind. They've given up. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, and there's all kinds of people that are, poor, right? And so it's good to be able to help them out, especially, if they are where they are because of something happened, they got sick or whatever like that. Trust me, I've done my share, and I'm going to do more in the future, right? Um, and if you've been following me for quite some time, I was homeless for about a year and a half when I was 18, right? Um, I didn't from couch to couch. I didn't have anywhere to go. So I understand about being homeless. Okay, I was literally one night away, or 1 hour away, or minutes away from literally laying at the park on the bench. Okay, so don't tell me I'm not being soft-hearted. I know about that. Matter of fact, that's going to be something that I'm going to do in the future and have a foundation with the homeless. I really want to find out what really happened to each individual, not the people that's out there just trying to make money and scheme people, right, and scam people, right. I'm talking about really find out why. But anyway, so another thing is church or hanging around friends. Hey, it's good to do that. There's research that talks about that. It's a good thing. You have a good society. No matter what religion that you're on, as long as you're doing the right things and everything like that to produce a good society. How about focusing on money? Yes, to some degree, that's a good thing. You got to manage the finances that you've been given and everything like that, right? But the right thing to do is to take those things and to spend the time where you're supposed to spend it at. If you follow me, if you're new and this is the first time you're listening to me talk about that, go back to some of my previous podcasts and I'll talk about that. Is what's your vision? Your vision is in your imagination. It's a seed planted inside you that has a tree trapped on the inside, right? Which leads me to this. Now, here's a little exercise right here. Let's go into this real quick, because I think you're going to like this. All right. Some of you might have seen this before. Some of you may not have seen this before. Now, check this out. Hopefully, you can see that. Production, can you see that really good? Is that really good? Can you see that really good? Okay. All right. Maze. Okay. Now, this is what I used to do when we had downtime when I was a little kid. Okay. Now, I'm going to explain here in a minute why I'm showing you this. Let's say this is the finish, right? And this is the vision. All right, this is what was put inside of you, okay? Put inside of me, all right? So your vision is in the form of a seed, okay? Now, All right. So that's the. Now some of you are probably when I was trying to do that follow me and everything. So that was very smart. Okay. Now check this out. Let me make sure I'm staying on track. Okay. So when you are, if you drive, you have a destination, right? Okay. Now the destination, let's say this is you, right there. You were born with this seed right here. That's right here. So how do you get from here to there? Okay, here's the first thing. Begin with the ending in mind. What? All right, let me say that again. Begin with the ending in mind. So what you do is you start from here and you work your way backwards. Okay? That's what the manufacturer does with a product. It doesn't matter. Everything's a product. A printer, a bottle, a notebook, a pen, you, me, a phone, a lamp, a house, a plant. All those are products. Dirt, soil, air, chlorophyll, things you can see, you can't see. All those are products. So before those things existed, the manufacturer already decided hey, I'm going to put in Joe the ability to teach. And while there, I'm going to put in him the ability to play a guitar. Right? Music. Okay. Jane, John, put your name in it. Whatever talent and ability that you have right here in the form of a seed, right? And then you got your tree. Let's draw your tree. Okay, and that seed, right? You got the tree. Okay? I know it's an ugly tree, it's a messed up tree, right? I'm not Picasso, right? I'm not trying to be Picasso or anything like that. Maybe I can do that. My production team is laughing at me. Okay, that's a tree right there. And put a little squirrel up in there. Okay. I'm just having a little bit of fun. Okay, because I love doing this. All right, now, so that tree's trapped in that seed. That's a converting mechanism, right? That's inside of you. That's inside of me, right? Part of my gift is a teaching gift. Start from the end, work your way back to the beginning. Okay, now what does that do? This is your coordinates. Your GPS is inside you. That's your brain. That's why I tell you to write down your vision. Okay? That's why I tell you to write down your vision. Let's put it right here. Write vision. Write in detail, where do you want to go? If you don't know this, you're going to stay here. Things are always growing or things are always dying. Did you hear what I just said? That's part of a law right there. I said that earlier, death versus life. The law of life or the law of death is life in reverse. Okay? So if you stop working out, what happens to your arms and your legs? You start to get weaker, right? If you stop eating healthy, what happens to your body? It goes downhill, right? So you're either going up, or you're going down, right? You don't just stay and hover in a place. It may seem like it because we're in the natural realm, but you're either going like this or you're going like that, okay? Now, so write your vision upon tablets. Write it down. Write it in detail. Spare no expense, okay? You got let's say you got $50 million. You like playing lotto. Some people like playing lotto, whatever like that. I don't want to do that because it produces a terrible culture. I'm not saying I have it. If I want, a dollar's not going to break me. $100 is not going to break me. Trust me. Okay. Now, I'm talking about people who should be spending that in themselves. Okay. So everybody has this right here. You should write it down, right? Because you have a GPS, and if you don't give it the coordinates, you'll never get through here. Okay, it'll be impossible because you can't see around these curves. You can't see, let's say your mom passed, right? You can't see 2 years down the line, she passed. You can't see over here. Maybe you break your arm. You can't see over here. Maybe you didn't make the basketball team. You can't see over here. Maybe you got into a car wreck. You can't see through all here. But the bigger, let's see. Let me erase this right here. The bigger you make that as you're going through here, right? I probably should have drew you as a human being, as a little stick figure or something like that. But if this is you right here, well, that didn't look good at all. That looked terrible. Let's try that again. Oh. I was the one that did numbers and stuff like that at school, okay? So, I know you on that. All right, so this is you. All right, Kingdom Diplomat. The manufacturer put this vision inside of you, so you have a specific assignment, right? Okay, so now you discover that's already in you. That's the line of sight right there, right? You need to make it real big. You need to make it so big that you say that I can't possibly do that by myself. And guess what? That's going to involve other people to help you. You can't reach your vision in life without people helping you, right? And that includes a negative vision also too. You have people out here who use money to hurt people, steal, murder, lie, cheat, destroy, just to get natural resources. Now here's the stupid part about that. When you have people that do that, we came into this world with nothing. You're going to leave this world with nothing. Anyway, so you got to make it big enough, right? So as you're going through here, you're always focused on that right there. So hopefully that makes sense right there. Okay, so leaders are readers. This has to do with how do you get there? Read positive stuff. Stop watching negative stuff. Okay? Remember what I said before, words have meanings. Music that you listen to, people that you hang around, are they watering your seed? Or are they choking your seed? Think about that. Okay? Now, I'm about to wrap this thing up. Okay, so let's segue into this. The law of the seed. Yes, the seed has laws. Everything produces after its own kind. Okay? So a tree, let's go down here. Let's do this. All right. So here's you. And you got your seed. Naturally speaking, right? You remember when I said naturally speaking? Your dad, right, impregnated your mom, right? You don't have to get into all that, but you heard what I said before in previous things. You were the one that was picked out of those 500,000 plus, right? And bam, here you go. So you were already tested before you got here, right? You already had success principles and laws built in you to succeed and overcome any obstacle if you get the right words into your mind, right? Okay, now let's do this. So you have the seed, and within the seed you have the what? Let's do there's that tree again, right? Let's do this time, tree. All right, that looks a lot better. Tree right there. So you have to get it in the right environment, right? Hang around the right people. Read the right things. Stop putting all the crap in your head. Now, this is only if you want to move in life, right? You want to move forward in life. Here's something that you should think about. You say, well, everybody else around me, they're doing good. I'm doing a little bit better than them. The enemy of, as I said before, of right is good. well, we're doing good. We got this car, we got a car, we got that paid for and everything else. I got a little bit more than everybody else. So that potential, that seed that's inside of you, do you think that's what is was put in there for you to spend on yourself, to lavish on yourself and your family? Well, what's the purpose of that fruit you just ate not too long ago? The purpose of that fruit was for you to eat, right? You got that? So it's for you to eat. So you got all these people over here. Let me see. That may be a little bit too. Right? They want to get the fruit. Right? They don't care about the seed, your natural talent, your ability. Are you following me? They don't care about your leadership or everything like that. They want your fruit. Now, if you understand that will protect you from when these people, they say, hooray, hey, hooray, I got this banana right here. This is what I've been looking for. They don't care about the tree. They don't care about the seed. They don't care about you with that natural ability that you have on the inside of you. Here's why you need to master it. Here's why I'm mastering my teaching gift. That's one of my gifts. Okay? Because even though people pat me on the back sometimes and they say, man, that was good, this was good, and I get some feedback, and other things also too, which is good. I love it. I love being around people who are just as smart, who are just as intelligent, and more. Actually, I'd rather be more. Everybody in the room, right? Because that is my treasure chest to pull and grow and change, because I'm an eternal student. All right, now check this out. So they don't care about that. They don't care about that. So for you, that keeps you from being destroyed mentally, right? Michael Jackson, right? Yeah, he was done wrong, but guess what? And you can put anybody that you want here, right? You've seen them in the tabloids, you've seen them on TV and everything like that. They had a natural ability to do certain things. They had a seed, they had a tree, right, to produce fruit, and people came running, they came flocking, right, to that tree. But here's the problem. People don't know how to divide that up, okay? Why? Because Michael was thinking that they were loving him when they were loving his music, his fruit, okay? So when you produce your fruit through these years, because, I'm going to listen to Tyreek, I'm going to put my vision down, things that he suggests, I'm going to read, I'm going to hang around the right people, I'm going to do certain things, and I don't care how old you are or how young you are. Time is ticking, right? And when they all of a sudden turn their back on you or they start talking bad about you, you don't get upset, okay? You don't take it personal, right? You're not disappointed, okay? So I'm not disappointed when people talk bad about me. Matter of fact, I think that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing right there. I know they were just after my fruit. Okay, when I write a book, okay, I got a book coming this year. Okay, I may have two, but one definitely. Okay, and people purchase that book and it changes their life, right? That's part of my fruit. Do you understand that? So that means you have one also too. Okay, now when those fruits, people run off with them. Guess what? Some of them people aren't going to get, and those fruit are going to turn into drop in the ground. They're going to grow more trees, right? And it's supposed to produce more. So it's the law of the seed. Everything produces after its own kind. So, all right, guys, I'm pretty much done. Hopefully that made sense. I know it does, because you're smart, intelligent, a magnificent, glorious, amazing kingdom diplomat people. And at one point, I'm going to tell you actually what this actually means right here. Why I called you that. Why I know that's you. And when I get through with you and I explain this whole concept right here, what that actually means, and if you want to know some of it, just go to my previous talks, okay? Go to the first one, second one, third one, some of my shorts and everything also too, that I explain to you right here. I got this all from the Kingdom book, the Kingdom Constitution called the Bible, right? Now, just so you know, Here's one of my visions. I told you one of them, I'm going to start a nonprofit for homeless people. I'm also going to start a nonprofit for other things dealing with kids. Also, too, kids that have been abused, kids that have been hurt. I'm gonna do it. I got a whole lot of things. I'm gonna start a school in the future. Okay, why? Because people need to understand this right here, and so they don't waste their time anymore. Right? They don't die. Now, keep in mind, I do understand this. I'm not naive. I see it around my family. I see it around neighbors and everything like that. A lot of people won't believe what I'm saying. That's actually on the inside of them, right? Because even though they've been beat upside the head so many times mentally, so probably some physically also too, and emotionally through life, they have given up. Okay, but I do know that there is some people out there who say, you know what, I'm going to believe this about myself. Why? Think about it. If you can believe something bad about yourself, why not believe something good? Right? Okay. So I know I didn't produce a lot of scripture. I just wanted to kind of get into the whole thought life, the whole principle of words and meanings, because this is the most important thing right here. So anyway, I'm done. You guys have a great week. If you're traveling, please be safe. And also, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Please send it out to other people that you believe that may benefit from this type of education. And also, please also too, next week, I probably, and probably within the next 2 or 3 days, I'm probably going to do another short live and just kind of give you an idea what I'm going to talk about next week. But I'll be here at the same bat time, same bat channel, talking about life-changing, empowering, world-overcoming, magnificent, glorious, gigantic, amazing things about you. Have a good one. Have a good night, guys.